Welcome back. In a moment, Keith Hillier joins us as we look at the racing. It's been a huge week in racing. Still to come on Sportsworld, we've got Bells Beach coming up, also the plays of the month and all the footy action, AFL and also rugby league. But Keith, Sydney Cup yesterday, a bit of a shock with Just a Dancer, a horse who at one stage looked like playing a major part in the Melbourne Spring Carnival.
Yes, what a difference 6 months makes. Bruce, Just a Dancer was the horse that Jim Cassidy, through his loyalty to a mate, rode in the Melbourne Cup and missed the winning ride on Kingston Rule. He won the lead-up race to the Caulfield Cup, the Herbert Power. Did he run favourite?
Yeah, I think he was favourite in the Caulfield Cup and didn't run a place. In fact, I don't think he's run a place since the Herbert Power handicap.
And yesterday, 40-1 and won the Sydney Cup and strolled in a big winning margin.
Wasn't a bad field for the Sydney Cup. You know, Prezan's looks like being a decent stayer. We had Dr. Grace and Castletown, so we've probably had stronger 2-mile races, but it held up reasonably well.
Yes, and it was run at a fair bat too, because often that race is a dawdle early. And it was a good staying test, but Just a Dancer was just too good by a mile.
He was, Keith. Let's go to the race. Prezan and Mick Dippin are about to rev them up with 1,200 to go. Here's the Sydney Cup.
1,300 metres to go, and it's Prezan, the leader. He's got a tendency to get away from the fence a bit. Dr. Grace's rider was in two minds there about poking up on the inside, but again Prezan got away from Dr. Grace coming to the top turn. King Aussie third, I'm in Heaven fourth, getting a beautiful run on the inside. A length to fill the bill, and then String Quartet and Castletown. A gap to Just a Dancer, followed by Din's Joy on the outside of Frosted. Further back is La Rosette and Missouri Wolf after that bad start has tailed right off in the cup at the 800 metres mark, and it's Prezan the leader. Dr. Grace a length away in second place. I'm in Heaven has not come around a horse so far. He's getting a beautiful rails run, and then Fill the Bill followed by String Quartet. Castletown on the outside, a gap to Just a Dancer. Further back is Din's Joy. King Aussie dropping out of it, followed by La Rosette and Frosted as they come around the turn, and Prezan leads them a merry dance at the top of the straight. There's a rails run there for I'm in Heaven. Prezan has been hanging for a good part of the trip. Fill the Bill has rushed up on the outside to grab them as they top the rise. Fill the Bill takes the lead. Now Castletown and Just a Dancer down the extreme outside. Just a Dancer has grabbed them quickly. Just a Dancer on the extreme outside takes the lead, 100 out in the Sydney Cup, and he is sprinting right away from them. Just a Dancer is killing them now. With every stride he goes further ahead, and Just a Dancer wins the Cup in a trot. Won by 4 lengths to Castletown. I'm in Heaven third. Fill the Bill.
Yes, an emphatic victory. His trainer Graham Rogerson said after the race that it had been breaking his heart with the lack of form of the horse, and I think the horse broke a few people's hearts yesterday.
Absolutely. 2 big betting plonks in the Cup. Prezan was very heavily backed, and String Quartet both looked to have some prospects at the home turn, but it didn't turn out. And we mentioned what a difference 6 months makes, Bruce. 1 year ago, King Aussie won the Sydney Cup on a wet track. Yesterday he was a 60-1 chance, and he finished last.
And what about Dr. Grace? He looked a bit disappointing, didn't he?
He was, yes. Yeah, he's hard to catch, isn't he? He's not consistent.
How could he beat Superimposed by 15 lengths in the BMW?
No, you tell me. I don't know.
Yeah, I'd love to know, wouldn't you? So, speaking of Superimposed, ran second yesterday in the all-age stakes behind Shaftesbury Avenue. Not much between the two horses. Superimposed seems to beat him in the handicaps up there, and Shaftesbury Avenue can beat him at the weight for age up there.
Yeah, it's a fair way of putting it too. I think that Shaftesbury Avenue is the emerging star. He may be a Cox Plate hope next spring. I think the way he finished that race off, Bruce, suggests he'll run the 2,040 metres at Moonee Valley. But I doubt whether the small field really suited Superimposed. He likes to wind up, and I think conditions suited Shaftesbury Avenue yesterday, but take nothing away from him. He's very good, and his time was exceptional.
Yes, let's go to the all-age stakes, Group 1 over a mile, and just see this pretty special horse in top form, Shaftesbury Avenue.
100 mark Stylish Century in his favourite role. Shaftesbury Avenue is moving closer though on the outside as they come to the turn. Stargazer dropping off a little. Pre-Record is making up ground, followed by Superimpose and Impressionist having a job to stay in touch as they come to the corner. Into the straight, Stylish Century about 3/4 to Shaftesbury Avenue. A length away, Pre-Record on the outside of Stargazer. Superimpose is now pulled to the extreme outside. He's about 4 off the lead, but Marshall hasn't moved on Shaftesbury Avenue as the big chestnut hits the front. Shaftesbury Avenue takes the lead on top of the rise. Superimposed wide out. Stylish Century on the fence battling on, but Shaftesbury Avenue with superior acceleration left them standing. Shaftesbury Avenue has blasted away from Superimposed, and it's a sensational win to the Avenue. Shaftesbury Avenue by 4 lengths to Superimposed. A half length away third, Stylish Century fourth.
Well, in his last 7 starts, Shaftesbury Avenue has won 5 Group 1 races, and Keith, I reckon he's the one horse in Australia that would really stretch Better Loosen Up's neck in anything up to 2,000.
Yes, up to 2,000, I'm sure he would. Actually, that looked a better win this morning, didn't it? He really stormed away from one of the best horses in the land, Superimpose, who, to me, just at weight for age, hasn't got that nip and acceleration and adaptability. I think he is a better handicapper.
Yes, he's one of the great mile handicappers, no question about that. We spoke about that last week, but at weight for age, this other horse looks to be the emerging star. Speaking of emerging stars, Lee Friedman thinks he has another top horse in Bold Rancher. He won the Frank Packer Plate yesterday.
Into the straight now, 400 out, Yucatan the leader, from Nightage on the outside, Play On in 3rd place, and then Weekend Guest, New Acquaintance putting in a run, and going with her as Phantom's Hero on the extreme outside, and here comes the Rancher. Bold Rancher out of the packers, going after them quickly. He's got them covered, Bold Rancher. He raced up to head, New Acquaintance and Phantom's Hero, followed by Shinvari and Direco, getting home well when it's all over, but Bold Rancher drew clear, and Bold Rancher wins the Frank Packer. New Acquaintance has run 2nd, and Direco has charged home to get 3rd.
Continues to improve, that horse, and Lee's talking the Epsom handicap in the spring to take on his other star, Superimpose.
Yes, that's the first progeny of the Sire Rancher to win at 2,000 metres, Bruce, and he does shape as a promising Epsom hope, doesn't he? It's also the measure of a good trainer. It's OK to be successful with one horse or 2, but you need those emerging stars, and I think Lee Friedman has found another there in Bold Rancher.
No question about that, and if you can win at 2,000 metres, it suits horses in the Epsom because you've got to be strong to be running on, so watch for him in the spring. It's been a tremendous week of racing in Sydney. We had the Oaks on Wednesday. Triscay was up against Mannerism and Lee's Bid. It turned out to be a titanic struggle. Let's go to Randwick on Wednesday, the Group 1 AJC Oaks.
To them on the outside, All Mine on the fence behind them, and here comes Triscay. Triscay has loomed to them very quickly as they get to the top of the rise where Mannerism is the leader. Dittman's got to put out all stops on the favourite Triscay. She's coming at Mannerism with 150 to go. Triscay and Mannerism, they're fighting it out. It's a tooth and nail struggle. Lee's Bid is rocketing down the outside. Triscay, Mannerism, Lee's Bid trying to get to them as they hit the line. Triscay, I think Triscay has just fallen in to win the Oaks from Lee's Bid and Mannerism in a 3-way thriller in the Oaks.
Mick Dittman winning his 3rd Oaks in 4 years. Speaking of training performance, you've got to take your hat off to Jack Denham. He could have been tempted to take Durbridge and Surface Paradise on in the Derby. He kept this horse for the Oaks. Yes, and it was mission accomplished. And what about Mick Dittman? No pain from the arm there, but later in the day there wasn't. He couldn't ride later, so the arms, what a driving finish. It was. I think the arm was starting to swell and he decided not to ride. She's a good filly, isn't she? They're talking Cox Plates. She's brilliant, and 2,000 to a mile, I think, is her distance. Yes, gosh, all the form points to Durbridge being a very good horse, Bruce, doesn't it? When you look at the Bold Rancher yesterday and Durbridge beat him, and Triscay winning the Oaks and Durbridge beat her. He's something too. I might be looking more towards Durbridge than Triscay in the Cox Plate. Well, I ran into Greggy Hall last night in Melbourne, and he's looking forward to the spring with Durbridge. Speaking of big performances, this was maybe the performance of the week. The Galaxy on Monday, Mr. Tiz. Just watch for this. We picked him up with about 800 to go. He's the 2nd last horse. Watch for the red cap in the straight. It's one of the best performances you'll ever see.
At the head of the others then is Rise and Shine as they come to the 600 mark. Prince of Rory is well back behind those horses, followed by Mr. Tez and Sanction as last. To the turn in the Galaxy, it's Show County, Street Ruffian and Festal on the outside. With Me is running 4th on the turn, followed by Carl Town and then West Dancer. Joanne flat to the boards, coming over the rise about 6 lengths off the lead, followed by Varicos and then the Bullfighter and Rise and Shine as they come to the 200 mark. Festal is tackled by With Me on the outside. Show County's gone. It's With Me coming at Festal. Varicos is starting to charge home in 3rd place, but getting close to home. Festal, With Me, Varicos, and look at Mr. Tiz. He's going to beat them all. Mr. Tiz, the New Zealander, has come from 2nd last, and that's his real form today. Mr. Tiz with a blinding finish beat Varicos and Festal. Well, we've been talking about trainers, Keith. It's a horse from the O'Sullivan stable, and Dave O'Sullivan said after the race that he's one of the great sprinters to have come out of New Zealand. That was a blinding finish. Yeah, the first time he's really fired, he's New Zealand's best sprinter, but the first time he's really fired in Australia, Bruce, and they must have a horse-producing factory there instead of a stable at Matamata. They just keep coming up with one, don't they? Oh, not 1, 5 or 6. Did you have a bet in the Grand National last night in Liverpool? No, I thought a field of 40 was too big a challenge for me, Bruce. Over 7.2 kilometres. Let's go to Aintree in Liverpool, the most famous horse race in the world, I guess. I mean, this is a race that brings them all together. It's over 7.2 kilometres, 4.5 miles, and the winner was a horse called Seagram. It was ridden by Nigel Hawke at 12 to 1.
Keith, this is one of my ambitions, to go to Aintree one day and see a Grand National. You've been lucky enough to be there?
No, I haven't either, Bruce, and I'd like to do that too. What a sight as they go over that fence there, and 40 of them, and all over it safely. I wonder what's to come.
There are plenty to come, as you can see. We had a horse called Crisp who almost won a Grand National. I think it might have been, early 70s, 72. He led by about 20 lengths over the last, and Red Rum ran him down that day, and Red Rum went on to win 3 Grand Nationals and was placed in 2 others. That was a tremendous moment in Australian sport.
Oh, sure. The big red kangaroo, I think they called him over there, Crisp, and he ran into their best, Red Rum and Arkle. The history of this race is unbelievable.
Well, Garrison Savannah was a 7-to-1 chance. The favourite was Bonanza Boy at 13-2. They jumped the last, they then come onto the course proper, and this is always when it gets pretty tight and tough. Garrison Savannah had a big lead, but Seagram was full of running and able to run him down. God, the jockeys would be tired, wouldn't they? And the horses.
12-1, you'd want those odds for him to get around, wouldn't you? And what an elated rider.
Yes, so Seagram writes his name into folklore by winning the Grand National this morning. And Nigel Hawke, no wonder he's got a smile on his face, and the winners can always smile. We'll take a break. Keith's going to stay here because we've got a story on the yearling sales from Sydney after this.